Hi guys, Bran here and welcome to another list video. Today we're going to be talking about 5 killers that need buffed. I've been thinking lately about all the games I have played in my time as a gamer, different versus games like Dota 2, like Street Fighter, that I enjoy oh so much. And when it comes to balancing in video games, especially when it comes to character, ideally the sweet spot that a perfectly balanced game would have most characters in A or B tier. You ideally should have no characters in S tier that are bottlenecking design and characters that are outright not worth playing in the D or F tiers. However, I've noticed that Dead by Daylight has a lot of characters that end up in this middling area, which are kind of needing some sort of help, but not a massive overhaul that could make them way better and make them way more viable. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about 5 killers that need buffed. Before we truly get started, I want to have some honorable mentions here, that being Freddy, Myers, and Trapper. I did not want to go straight for the no-duh picks here, and honestly, we've been doing a lot of videos talking about how Myers, Trapper, and Freddy need help, so I kind of want to just pass by the usual suspects and go to characters that are kind of in that struggling middling area, not necessarily just the bottom 3. The first we're going to be covering is Ghostface. Ghostface has been in a very wonky and clunky place for quite some time. In Dead by Daylight, Ghostface is kind of serves as like a better Myers, but his reveal mechanic doesn't function competently even after they've tried to rework it to make it better, and he doesn't really have any sort of true anti-chase to help him end chases against survivors that are better than him. Usually killers have some sort of anti-chase tool that if they play right, if they play well, they're able to circumvent even a good survivor. Something like Pyramid Head's M2 that allows him to shoot through objects. That way, even if the survivor is looping him really well, he has something that if he aims well, he can circumvent their good loops. Ghostface doesn't really have anything like this. At the end of the day, he is just a as basic as possible M1 killer who can't circumvent chase in any meaningful way. He's also extremely map dependent because his only big strength is the fact that he can expose and down people without having to hit them twice. And this is honestly dependent on the maps because it's entirely based on him hiding, because if the survivors see you, they can just reveal you and put you on cooldown, and then you have to wait a long time before you're actually able to get back to stalking them. Second up is SoDo. SoDo has been worked so many times that she's kind of just truly lost her identity and as well her strength. I feel like SoDo is still pretty good on indoor maps. Now, if you did not know, her Condemned works off a range instead of just being map wide. So on indoor maps, where especially the 2-floor indoor maps where she's teleporting around, it's easy to get people through floors or through objects or anything of the such. On any other map that's large and not condensed, you end up in a situation where you're not able to really condemn anyone, and nor, just like Ghostface, nor do you actually have any sort of true anti-chase to help circumvent the survivors. The best thing that you have is the passive phasing, which, you know, unlike Spirit, you do have the ability to manipulate, which is pretty cool. It's kind of my more personal favorite things about the character, but she doesn't really have a way to deal with good survivors, and as a result, she is in the dire need of a buff. Third is Trickster. Trickster, once again, kind of like SoDo, has been reworked into a place where he has mostly lost his identity, and ergo, also his strength. Trickster is very map dependent for 2 reasons. First being that he's very reliant on locker spawns since he is a reload killer, but also at the same time, big line of sight blockers is kind of the bane of your existence as Trickster. If there are big line of sight blockers, even if you have trick blades, it's gonna be really hard to hit people to get that laceration. As well, strong pallets that just block off entire areas. The Trickster, besides getting a couple knives over the pallet, gets very hard shut down by these stronger pallets, which is not great. In general, there's too hard of a focus on a main event, which makes him weak in the rest of his kit. There is also, again, I keep bringing this up because it's an excellent video, but Gorbo made a lovely video talking about the problems with Trickster, modern Trickster, besides the epilepsy issue, which is a reason you should not play Trickster right now, and I don't know why behavior has not kill switched them. But yeah, make sure you watch that video if you want more in-depth explanation of why Trickster is in a very poor place right now. Right, number 4 is Dredge. This is kind of like a hot take pick, I feel like, sort of, because I feel like a lot of people really love Dredge and feel like Dredge is really strong. I would say on indoor maps and maps with a lot of locker spawns, Dredge does really well. However, the flip side is they struggle on maps with very sparse locker spawns, something like Family Residence, something like Rotten Fields, where they kind of end up just down half of their power, which is not ideal and not great. And he has a sandwich power, and if you know, we need a short explanation of what sandwich powers are, it's a character that can put part of themselves, like a projectile or something, in one place and then themselves at the other, and or force themselves into an easy hit, something like Skull Merchant, Knight, or Artist. Dredge is among this with his Remnant, but out of all of the characters that have a sandwich power, his is the least consistent, at least in my experience. it is a good thing that this sandwich power has a lot of counterplay and a lot of the survivors can do to try and bait it, to try and circumvent it. But as a result, he doesn't have a very, very consistently good tool to deal with stronger survivors. This, in addition to him just sometimes not having access to his teleport just based on locker spawns, creates a very, very nasty inconsistency. So if there's one thing we need with the Dredge, it's a little bit more consistency, and I don't think anybody can argue with that. The fifth killer needing buffs is Legion. This one was a hard one to put on here because Legion has a solid and sensical design, but can't really be stronger without being obnoxious, but also can't be any weaker without making them useless. I feel like the core problem with Legion is that their design is based around punishing a bad play by survivors for just grouping up. So as long as the survivors know not to group up and not constantly be healing, which are just bad survivor plays in general, he doesn't really have an edge over any moderately competent survivor. Even if he gets that first free injury, the resulting chase afterwards is just a basic M1 chase with no real significant techs or power like parts of their kit that actually makes them have a good chase. The main thing I've realized about Legion is they don't have a tool to challenge well-informed and skilled players, and as a result, he ends up just suffering against people who are even moderately okay at the game. All right, so there are 5 killers that need buffs. Was there anybody on this list that you expected to see? And remember, we did put in the honorable mentions that Freddy, Myers, and Trapper are honorable mentions on here. I kind of feel like I'm beating a dead horse every time I bring those guys up because, of course, they need help. But is there anything outside of those 3 that you thought should have been on here? Or did you think that people on this list didn't belong to be here? Let me know down in the comments below. But on that, this will be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me today. But I do upload daily, so I will see you tomorrow. But if I do not, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.